Hi, today you join me at the stunning Puddle Dock Farm fishery here near Upminster. Today we've been going through a bit of pace fishing, sort of how we'd approach a session, sort of little changes we'd make, rigs and just little bits and pieces on how to get the most out of a pace session. So today we're on the Snake Lake, we're on sat on peg 66, which is a good area. This place is absolutely rammed with fish. There's fish to be caught. There's 100 pegs on this lake and you can catch fish from anywhere. It's not too peggy, especially in the summer. It accounts for some massive weights, from 200 to 300 pound when it's good. And it's a place that I come to a lot. It's only about 30 minutes away, which is handy because we don't get many venues around my way. And most of the opens are on a Sunday. You get lots of Fish South qualifiers here as well. It's a real popular venue. Sort of methods that work here. Paste works really well certain times of the year. You catch a lot on pellets, corn, a lot of bigger baits because there's quite a big head of small fish in here, nuisance fish. That can make it a bit tricky sometimes, so maggots and stuff don't really work. And yeah, it's a real good venue, somewhere that I enjoy coming to. And pace fishing, especially here, is one of my favourite things. You can be a lot more positive, fishing for big weights, big fish, big hooks. It's just something that I really enjoy doing, and it's good when you're targeting big match weights of 250, 300 pound. So today we'll be going through all the rigs, how we'd approach it, little bits and pieces, little changes you have to make because it's quite a silty venue and that can make it a bit difficult sometimes with foul lookers. So changing lines, skipping about, and then the edge fishing here can be brilliant as well later on in the day. So we'll have a little run through that as well. So now we're going to have a look at the rigs that I typically use. They're a little bit different, a few little changes I like to make, but pace rigs are generally pretty simple. So starting using a Superior Carp kit, nice and strong, fishing big elastics so they won't let you down. I've actually got a 17 Dura slip elastic in this today. Little pace pot, just a bit back from the top of the pot. That just helps stop tangles when you're shipping out. Coming down, I've just got a medium Dacron there, down to an 020 AccuPower mainline. The float itself is a Preston Pace 2 float. You see the little wire at the top there that the line runs through. Again, that's just to aid tangles or stop tangles. Running down, the rig itself couldn't be more simple. All I've got is a couple of number 8 shot halfway down the rig. That's for two reasons. One is to stop tangles when you're shipping out, and the other reason is just take a little bit of buoyancy out the tip. That just stops you pulling out your pace, which will help, because it's a nightmare having to keep coming in and out and rebaiting. So it just lets you be in the water and be as efficient as possible. Then running down to the hook length, I've just got a 6-inch hook length of a pre-tied XSHB on a size 10, and that is on an 017 reflow power line hook length. So that top kit is going to be where we're targeting short, so that'd be somewhere where you start your session. You will catch later on in the session, but that's going to be where you fish it for most of the day. So top kit in 1, top kit in 2. Here it's pretty flat all the way out, so you don't have to go too far out. Moving on into our margin rig, that's a bit shallower. Superior Carp kit again, that's the same Preston pace pot. Slightly different, it's just a 19 Dura slip elastic, so a little bit stronger, a little bit more beefy. You know, you're targeting bigger fish in the edge. They're the ones that come in late on. Big ones aren't interested in the day, so that just helps you get more control. Again, exactly the same mainline, 020 AccuPower. Now I fish this one slightly different, so I actually have a couple of number 8 back shots on there, and I like to have the line actually not in the eye. And what you'll see with the rest of my rig is I like to fish this a little bit over depth. I like to put it in, and I actually like to pull my rig. So the reason for that, I don't like too much line being directly above my bait. Big fish in the edges here, they come in and they're very spooky of line. So if I can just pull it out of the way, just makes your bites a lot more positive and just stops you getting any foul lookers. And down, just to aid that curve, I've just got a series of 3 number 10s just down the rig. Again, just to take a little bit of buoyancy out that tip, stop me pulling out the paste, and also just to help me create that curve so I can pull against my bait. And then down to exactly the same hook length, it's just a 6-inch pre-tied XSHB size 10 to 017 reflow power line. Right, so now we're going to look at the baits that I'd usually use. Now, as I mentioned before, this venue is a little bit different. The fact it's got a real big head of small fish. So I know some people like using hemp for paste, smaller pellets. I try to avoid that here because you just fill your peg with roach and it's not efficient enough. So I like to just use, mainly for my feed, 2 baits, either some hard pellets. I start 6 mils, even 8 mils on some days if the roach are really bad, but 6 mils are generally my go-to. Just be nice and aggressive with them. Fish love them. The fish like pellets here anyway, so that's my go-to bait here. The other bait we might fish is a bit of corn, but to be honest, pellets seem to be the better bait, especially this time of year. And then for my paste, I actually use Thatcher's Original for my paste. I just love the smell of it. Real high fish meal, really smelly. It makes a lovely paste. I actually riddle mine for a flour sieve just to get a lot of them bigger particles out. That just helps the paste be a lot smoother, makes it stay on your hook a lot better. Again, it's all about efficiency. The last thing I want to do is keep coming in and out because my paste has fallen off. So as smooth and as nice as I can get it, and Thatcher's is brilliant in that, and it stinks, which is perfect as well. Now to mix up the Thatcher's, so I've got some already done here. I generally like to stick, so I have a 2-pint bait tub here. I like to fill that 2/3 with water, and I actually put that in the tub first. And then I fill it half with the ground bait, so about a 2/3 to a 1/3 ratio, just to start with, water to paste. Put the water in, put the paste in second, and then mix it through. And then to me, that just makes it, I can get it a lot smoother. You don't get any lumps, any dry bits. Make sure you get all the corners, give it a good mix. Some people have it different. I prefer to fish it quite sloppy. Some people prefer it a bit firmer. That depends on the venue. If it's a bit deeper, you might want it a bit firmer. Here today, it's only about 3 foot. So the carp can come in, completely nail it all in one go, slurp it in. And that's as simple as it gets for my paste fishing. So now we're going to get into a bit of fishing. So typically in a match on this sort of venue, I would start short, big carp, them early first hours of the match, or any session. The fish come in, there's not too much bankside disturbance. I like to start short just to see if there's any fish in the area, sort of gauge it from there. So first of all, we're going to start on a short line. I'll show you, there's a few tricks on how to put your paste on, because some people do struggle with rigs, how to get your paste out. You know, it can be a nightmare sometimes with tangles, just the nature of the rig because there's no shot and just how it has to be shipped out. But there's a few things you can do. Like I say, as we've already said, them 2 shot down the line would definitely help. That just helps, as you can see, when the rig goes out, they centralise the rig and just stop them touching each other. Stops your lines sort of tangling together. Now when you're paste fishing, I always like to have a tub of water next to me. This is for 2 reasons. Always give your hand a dunk first. That just means when you're picking up your paste, it just stops it sticking to your fingers. So it's a lot cleaner. It's quite a messy bait. I like to pick up a bit, get about 50p piece. Don't be shy with it. You'd be surprised what these fish can get in their mouth. I like to just flatten it down. Make sure your hook is at the bottom, and then just fold it over. Make a little parcel, case it all in, and I like to just flatten it a little bit at the end, so it makes a little bit of a pyramid. So that will just go on the bottom, sit there like a little plummet. Definitely anchor itself. Pop that in your paste pot. Now today, there's quite a lot of fish in here. It's very silty as well, so I don't want to be going in hammering loads of bait. The last thing I want to do is get too many fish in my peg. All that would do is it would kick up the silt, and it would just lead to too many foul lookers, and it just makes your peg a mess. It makes you inefficient. It's not what you want in a match, or definitely in a session. So I'm just going to start off with just probably 10 to 15 6 mils, just to top that pot off, just so I could be nice and accurate. Now this is just about seeing what's there to start with. We haven't had a go yet, so hopefully we'll catch one pretty soon. I'm only fishing the top kit +1, nice and close. There's no real slopes here. It's pretty flat all the way. If there was a slope, generally you'd like to start just up the slope or at the bottom of it, but here it's nice and flat. Now one thing to remember when you're putting your paste in is your paste pot is back, so make sure you allow for that when you're putting your paste in. So I like to actually put my rig to the side. I've got a little far bank marker, and I just lean forward and I just pop that in. That will come out and then get that flow over the top of that paste as quickly as possible. And that will settle up. There's actually a bow wave straight away then, so there's plenty of fish there. Now we have been feeding, so they might have just dug the bottom out a tiny bit. That's why the float's sitting down so low. Now when you're fishing for pace, really you just want to wait for a positive bite. As I said, there's a lot of small fish in here. I'll know when my pace comes off because that float will come right up out of the water. So it's still fishing. You'll get lots of indications, lots of roach attacking it, lots of carp attacking it. Last thing you want to be doing is striking at little bites. So wait for a proper positive 100 mile an hour under, then you know it's going to be in the mouth. A few little pimps come up. I think there's a few fish there. We had a bow wave as soon as we put it in. There's a little swell to the right, so there's definitely a few fish in the area. There you go. Only a small one to start with. That was a lovely bite. You can see it, 100 mile an hour, no messing around, straight down. Now just take your time. We've got proper gear on. Looks like a nice little common to start with. Let's say there's no rush. Early session, you're just getting your bearings. Now the fish in here fight mental. There we go. So it's a lovely little mirror just to start with. Perfect. Now they got a lot bigger in here. That's quite a little baby one to start with. Let's see if I can pick him up for you. But a nice little start. You'd be surprised the size of pace that they can get in their mouths, these fish. Even the fish as small as this got that in. He's a bit lively, so I'll put him back, see if we can get a bigger one. So now it's just a case of repeating the process. Now that worked pretty quick, so I don't want to start loose feeding loads of bait over the top. Like I said before, you just get too many fish in your peg. It just makes it too inefficient, especially with the indications you get on pace. The last thing you want is to be striking at the wrong bites. So that worked pretty well, so we'll just do exactly the same again. Again, just wet your hand, just to stop that pace sticking. Grab a bit off. Just flatten it out in your fingers. Again, don't be shy to put quite a big bit on. These fish are big in here. Put your hook right at the bottom and just fold that over. And then just encase it all in. Make your little parcel, stick that in your paste pot. Wash your hands, and then again, all you want to do, same again. 10 to 12 pellets in the pot. We'll see if we can catch another one. Now, as I mentioned before, this lake is silty, and my float did sit quite low last time, so it might be a case of, I'll try again, lift that float straight over the top. I'll see how it settles. I might have to just plumb up again. Actually, it's set pretty nice now. These lakes aren't dead flat, so there will be irregularities with how your float's sitting. But as long as you know when that float comes out of water, that means you're pace off. So at least I know I'm fishing. And it's just the same again. Just sit there patient. I'm just waiting for that proper 100 mile an hour bite. Hopefully it won't take too long. There's a few little pinpricks coming up. Now this is the best way to start your session. A lot of these pegs, there'll be resident fish that are in and around. You don't want to go in hammering loads of bait and just causing your peg to be a mess. So just starting, nice and simple, few pellets, just catch what's there. Some more indications there, there might be small fish. That was a proper bite, just missed that one. Bit too eager on the strike. Now, don't get put off by that. Pace fishing, that will happen. You will miss bites. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Because of the way it is, you have to strike through, and you get so many indications compared to a normal rig, you're going to miss bites. Just put up with it. That's why I like to fish it, start it short, so you can get in and out nice and quickly. So again, we'll just run you through again. Wet your hand. Grab your bit of paste, flatten it out. Put that hook right at the bottom, make sure it's at the bottom. That just helps because if your hook sits up, that will register on your tip as well. So you like to have it at the bottom So if ours is at the top, that little inch or half an inch difference will actually register on your tip, and that might pull it down too far or push it up too far. So if you know it's at the bottom, you know that's always fishing right. Pop it in your paste pot. Again, 10 to 12 pellets, straight in over the top. These Preston paste pots are brilliant because you can just dunk the pot in the water because of the holes in them, and the paste comes out with ease. There's no banging your paste out. You just want to be as smooth and as efficient as possible. So I just line it up with my marker, just accommodate for that pot, let that drop out and pull that float straight over the top. So there we go, just hooked into another one. On the short line, took a little bit of time. Just take your time, sat there patiently, had a few indications from them roach, and all of a sudden the float shot under 100 miles an hour. Just take your time, they're big fish in here. We've got proper elastic on, proper hooks, there's no need to rush. It actually took a few times of me loose feeding just to get a few fish in the peg. It felt like we had to sort of draw a few fish in, which is common on a lot of these venues. You'll have a few resident fish and then it's about drawing as many fish into your peg as possible. This one's putting up a bit of a scrap. And this 17 Duraelastic is so good. Nice and soft on the strike, but cut the strips on the puller and it powers up lovely. Let's try and stop him from going in the edge if we can. The fish in here are absolute lunatics. This one's running me around. See if we can get him under control. Again, just keep him out of that edge, steady pressure. No need to rush, no need to pull their heads off, it'll pop up eventually. Keep that top kit nice and low until it's ready to come up. Here he comes. Scooped him. As you can see there, lovely in the top lip. Nice positive bite, ones that we're waiting for. Nice fish, about 3 or 4 pound. Again, we'll see if we can lift him up if he'll let me. The other one was a bit lively. Sort of bread and butter fish on this venue. They do go a lot bigger than that, but that's about your Sander stamp. And it doesn't take many of them to do a big weight in matches, especially when you get them lined up, and especially on a positive method like pace fishing. Just wash my hands. Right, now we're going to have a look at the edge. Usually it's a bit early, it'll be something that you target sort of later on in the session, but we want to go in there, see what we can catch. There's a few little tips and tricks that I do. I do it slightly different to a lot of people, but that is where you're going to make or break your match, especially in match fishing. Big fish come in the edge late on. They're the ones you want to catch. They're the ones that are real weight builders. When you're catching these big match weights nowadays, you've got to be catching them in the edge and in short when you can. So we'll run through the edge fishing, how I'll approach it, how we feed it. It's slightly different to the short line. It's not as silty and it's not as flat. It's on a slightly slope. So there's a few little differences I do to my rigs, but we'll run through that shortly and see if we can catch one. Right, now we're going to have a look in the edge. Margin fishing is probably your make or break in matches. It's the part you want to spend the end of your match when big fish come in to feed. Late on, they come in numbers. The better fish, they're the ones that can really help you top up your weight. Now, we're going on it a little bit early, but this place is absolutely full of fish, so hopefully there'll be a few there. Just come off our short line, time to have a look in the edge. Now, the rig is slightly different. I'll run you through it as I'm going through. I actually like to fish this a little bit over depth. A lot of pace fishing is done dead depth, but I like to just give myself a couple of inches. So you can see I've plumbed up, put myself a little marker, so that's dead depth. So I'm here, I'm probably about an inch, inch and a half over depth. What it lets me do, because we're on a slope here, I can put my paste in and I can just pull my float, and you'll see it will sit on an angle. It just gets my main line away from my bit of pace, stops that fish coming in, hitting your line and bow waving. And when it's on a slope, it's hard to be really accurate. You don't want your float sitting too low, sitting too high. So I like to just give myself a little bit of breathing room and then pull it in. So I repeat the process. I've put a pot of pellets down there with a cupping kit, about half a full pot. Hopefully that should bring a few fish in. We'll just repeat the process, wet your hands, grab yourself a bit of paste. Again, don't be shy, they're big fish in here. You'll be surprised what they can get in. Flatten it out and just roll it over. Pop that in your pot. And then I'm just going to put a few pellets as well in the toss pot, just to see if I can home them in. So we've put a big bed of bait down there. Now this will give them something just to come in and home in on. So again, be nice and smooth. Don't want your paste pulling out. So we get to our marker, we just want to lay our rig out. Again, accommodate for that little bit of that toss pot being just a bit further back. Pop your paste in. Get that rig over the top of it as quick as you can. And with these back shots, I just want to pull my rig into the bank. A few liners straight away there. Just ignore them. You'll know the positive bites. They'll just go under 100 miles an hour. Just pull it in. I know I can be in touch. Let me just check. I might be able to just put on that paste just to check it's still on. We did have quite a big liner. Yep, still on. So I'm just pulling that in. Whole bristle out. You're waiting for that whole bristle to disappear. They basically hook themselves in this method. You've got big hooks, big line. You're waiting for it to just come in and completely nail it. Last thing you want to do is start foul looking fish in the edge. Just unsettle them, and it will just cause you too many problems. You won't be efficient enough and you won't catch them how you need to. Again, lots of indications. Might be small fish as well. There are a lot of small fish in here. Just a few small fish down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my large pot again. Try and drag some more carp in. These sorts of venues nowadays, especially this time of year, they have so much bait. So I just want to fill that. About a quarter of that, as you can see, just enough bait to get a few in. I don't spill them all out. Just go in, just drop them from a little bit of a height, make a little bit of noise. See if that would drag a few more fish in. Just fold that up. Now I've already fed, so I'm not going to go in and feed again. I fed them quite accurate. I'm going to go straight on top of that, see if there's one there waiting. Hopefully there will be. Go out nice and smooth. Let that rig go out. Just going to pop that paste in. Put that over the top. So you see it settle, and then with them back shots, just pull. See that floats just on the slant, so I know I'm direct with the paste. Now this is something you have to gauge with on the day. Some days I'll fish it 3 or 4 inches over depth, really over depth. I feel like there's lots of fish coming in. Because the last thing I want is them coming in, hitting my rig and spooking. You want them coming in as confidently as possible. Just holding that tight. Lots of little knocks, lots of roach. It's just about being patient and waiting for that proper indication. So there we go. See? This one's trying to run me around the lake again. If you could see there was a proper positive bite. It took a little while to get one to come in. Just take your time with it, proper gear on, proper fish. And the difference in the bite, they pretty much pull your elastic out. Just be patient. There we go. Much better stamp fish as well. These are the ones that you're after. Oh. See, much bigger stamp in the edge. These are the fish you're going to need towards the end of the match. The proper weight builders. When these rock up, it really doesn't take long to do a weight. I'll try and hold him up if he'll let me. These fish, these 7, 8, 9 pounders. Might be a bit too lively, this one. But these are the match winning fish. Fish that you target at the end of the session, and there's no better bait than paste for it. Big bits of paste, big mouth. They come in, nail it. When they're aggressive on it, you really can't beat it. It's popping back. I hope you've picked up a few different tips and tricks, how I've approached the peg, both shortening the edge, slightly different in the edge by fishing it a bit over depth, bringing it in. We've only caught 2 or 3 fish, but we're very early on in the session. Like I say, pace fishing is something about is positive. You want fish to be coming in, lots of fish in. It's not time for the edge fishing yet, but if we stayed here for another 2 or 3 hours, I've no doubts it'd be absolutely solid down there. I hope you picked up a few things, and if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you all soon.